Gaia, our poems are singing in your rings of stone. I'll keep the flame in your sky, my love, as above, so below. Constellations woven in your name, they hold the space for the souls that came to play your earthly game. I am the stars that are, the ring that holds your heart, my love. You are the gold that's below, so above. Rests of my notes, nest of my rose, heart of my soul, as above, so below. Salutations from space and aloha from Earth, friends. Gemini Brett here for our weekly Wednesday Starry Telling Hour. You'll probably see this series of time lapses many times because I love looking at it. I'm proud of it, and it's just an amazing thing to see galactic center in dark skies where I reside. I can only find my way to this most magical place where the cosmic serpent bites its own tail, the Ouroboros that holds us all, by following the stinger of the scorpion and the arrow of the archer. In Hawaii, it's like I had to work with galactic center to find the scorpion and the archer instead of the other way around. On the other side of this Wednesday stream, on the back end of it, I think I'm actually going to take you to the Constellations membership page for folks who have already joined in. Hopefully you've seen some of the Decan work that I'm creating, and I'll share more about that on the other side of this thing. But first, I just want to share an experience with you. And I'm wondering if you might share an experience with me. Raise your hand or put a comment here if you have seen Mars and Saturn in the morning sky, these morning stars. I'm trying to remember when the first time I saw these beings was exactly. I know that Anna and I went some time ago to see the Moon Venus conjunction in Aries, and I didn't tell her this, but I knew we weren't going to see it just because of the way Aries rises in the northern hemisphere sky, right? We reside in California, and where Pisces and Aries alike are the signs of fastest ascension. And it's because of the way that they address the horizon. And this is why the ancients called them the crooked signs. So Anna actually was born with Pisces rising. If you were born with Aries or Pisces rising in the northern hemisphere, you have defied odds because those signs rise most quickly, and therefore it's statistically improbable to have Pisces and Aries as northern hemisphere rising signs. Most probable to have Virgo and Libra. The opposite, by the way, would be true in the southern hemisphere sky. And in the southern hemisphere, I bet some of y'all can still see Venus as a morning star. Venus is now 9 degrees away from the sun. I'm sure of it. And in fact, I bet you'll see Venus, depending where you are, how far south of Earth's equator, for another week and maybe more. Because in the southern hemisphere, Aries rises like this, right? So just imagine Melanie, I see you're here from the southern hemisphere. I wonder if you've woken up before the sun recently, and if you have you seen Venus there smiling back at you? So imagine Venus is here at the tip of my finger. Okay, the tip of my ring finger, fine. And and that this is the sun here at the heel of my palm, right? So if this is the horizon, and Venus is this far from the sun and situated in a sign that rises like this, you can see how Venus is claiming great altitude before sunrise. But if in a sign with that same exact distance, elongation we call it, but rising like this, right? So Venus does not claim much altitude before the sun rises. It kind of rise at the same time. That's why in the northern hemisphere, Aries rises particularly fast, because it's crooked. It doesn't mean like criminal, right? Straight doesn't mean whatever, right? Like literally, there's literally straight and crooked as they address the horizon, the angle of ascent, it's called. And so in the northern hemisphere, it is Aries and Pisces because they set straight that offer the greatest opportunity to connect visibly with evening stars that are close to the sun. And it is Virgo and Libra that offers the greatest opportunity to connect with morning stars. And the opposite is true in the southern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, Pisces and Aries, morning stars are the easiest to see in the sky with your eyes. There's other amazing factors to this, like the fact that Venus does not obey the same orbital path of the Earth as the Earth does about the sun, and therefore doesn't take the same path through Earth's skies that the sun does. That's the zodiac, right? The heart of the zodiac, the ecliptic plane, the Earth-Sun plane. It's the dance of the sun, and therefore I call it the one ring that rules them all, and in the light binds them. Venus has her own trip, and there's some places where Venus gets particularly far from the sun, at least from Earth's point of view. One of those is actually the sign of Aries. Now, importantly, it doesn't happen every time. So Venus, for example, right now has a declination of 8 degrees north, and the sun has a declination of 13 degrees north. So they're like 10 degrees away from each other in the zodiac, or 9, but also like 5 degrees like this, right? So we have to get all like Pythagorean, right, to find out like the actual angular distance. And sorry to take it into deep nerd space. I want to get back to, pedal in the brakes. I guess I should call it the gas and the brakes, since the brakes are pedal too. But anyway, there in the next kind of retrograde Venus passing of the Earth, right? So it's Venus passing Earth by between Earth and the sun is Venus retrograde conjunct the sun. That will happen in Aries in March of 2025. And though Venus will be conjunct the sun, she'll be like 8 degrees away in what we call latitude. Example I often like to share is like, I live in Richmond, California. I used to live in Seattle. We're the same longitude. We're the same distance from Greenwich, the prime meridian, if you consider that thing prime. Regardless, we're the same like time zone. We're Seattle's exactly north of me. It's exactly that way. But we have a very different latitude. I can't just go hang out with my dear friends in Seattle and get a cup of coffee, even though I want to right now, without getting on a plane or taking a long drive, or long bike ride, or walking forever. You feel me? So latitude matters. Latitude has attitude. And I'm really excited actually for the Venus Sun kazimi in Aries, because Venus will be conjunct the sun, kind of like the same longitude, same zodiac degree, but Venus will be like 8 degrees from the sun, north of the sun at that time. And I'm actually convinced that photographers in Russia and Seattle will simultaneously be able to see Venus as evening star and morning star respectively, even during this conjunction with the sun. So I'm actually, that's not happening until next year, but I need to start getting organized, because I really want to find folks who will witness that and photograph that, so we can all witness that happening. Maybe even have some like live video. Like imagine that, right? Venus conjunct the sun, but also somewhere on Earth in the very same moment, visible as an evening star, and somewhere else visible as a morning star. Yeah. I wanted to check in with the real Not Brady here, who says, hooray for deep nerd space. What's up? You came to the right place, and I'm glad to be with you. And this is what Constellation's about. It's not only about that. We want to really be in the heart language, but I have started a community group at the School of Astrology, which has been amazing. We've got some really fun hangs, right? So I'm teaching the class every month. We have all sorts of other things happening too. I'm actually going to bring you, I think, to that space and show you some astronomy videos I recorded for the crew just the other day. And so I was out there trying to see this Aries Moon Venus conjunction, and it was nice. We sat out there. I recorded a short bit for the school because I'm doing this astronomical decan walk that I'll tell you about in a bit. But then we just sat and held each other and talked a little bit and connected with the sky, and it was really nice to be out there with my wonderful partner and sharing that. And then it was really rude that a moment later I went off to go see Moon and Venus and had to go to a place that she could not come because I had to jump a fence, and she is 7 months pregnant. So not sure how cool it is to go seeking Moon and Venus in the sky while leaving my Moon Venus behind, right? But all for the love. And I think she understands particulars, my abnormalities, one of them being that I love tea, and I love, 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 love this tea. This White Lotus Woods, check it out, a 1990s show puer. Can you hear the grunge? My dear friend Kirsten, who I will have on this place at some point, is an amazing being, and he has just survived an amazing trial. He is starting to sell some of the teas that he has been collecting for a long, long time. And has this company. I don't know if it's launched yet. I'll share more about it and where you can find them in case you'd like to drink beautiful ancient teas that will ground you and simultaneously lift you up as trees do. They root and reach. Yes. Jade frog tea. So I don't know, Kirsten, are you live yet? If you are, drop your links in here, and I certainly will at some point. Brother, thank you so much for sending me these amazing teas. Friends, watch what happens to me in the next 5 minutes. And I'm going to bring you on this journey with me. Okay, so when Anna and I went out some time ago, it was the Moon-Venus conjunction. I guess I could share the date with you by pushing magical buttons in astrology software. Yeah, it was August 13th. No, that's not true at all. That I'm looking at August 13th, 2023, which was when Venus came between Earth and the Sun in the sign of Leo to begin this current cycle, this Leo cycle that we're in, which, by the way, I call a Leo Gemini cycle because Venus came. Let me ask this teacup to star as Venus for you. Tea time with Brett. Hello, Jennifer. And Astral Omen says, I want to quit coffee. You are welcome to. I know it's not that easy. Venus came between Earth. Not Earth, you're the Earth. You beautiful, watery being. Venus came between Earth and the Sun August 13th, 2023 in the tropical sign of Leo, with Leo intentions for this cycle ahead. And now she will go back behind the Sun in Gemini. Okay, June 4th is Venus's exterior conjunction, or they call it superior conjunction, which means not better than, but above the Sun. This was her inferior, which means below, or interior, more literal and less baggage in that word, isn't it? Interior conjunction of Venus, August 13th, 2023 in Leo, and then June 4th, 2024 in Gemini. The next one here, this is the one I was just talking about in Aries in March of 2025. I should mention, although I got to track it down, and I think I can, if you'll bear with me just a little bit. I have been working with the great astrologer Julia Seamus at the Cosmic Intelligence Agency, a place which I love so much, and with Ariel Gutman, who is the author of the great text Venus Star Point, amongst others, and with others including Adam Gainsberg, who is the author of the great text The Light of Venus, and some others like Patricia Wallace participated at some point. Adam Summer, the great astrologer, participated at some point. On every time Venus aligns with the Sun since March of 2017, 17. Yeah. We have been gathering to teach like Venus deep dive classes. Um, and here is coming a Venus Sun alignment in Gemini, and we try to get it together, and it's not going to happen. Where the bunches of us will get together to share this thing. So I'm going to put a link in the chat right now because we decided what the Gemini star point will be about is the dissemination of all of this information for all the classes that have happened before. So, you know, Venus every 8 Earth years makes these 5 interior conjunctions, makes a pentacle in our zodiac in the process, and then also shadows those same points of the zodiac with her exterior conjunctions. It's the most amazing, sacred, beautiful geometry. That's like the focus of one of the classes that I taught in the many that I taught during that stream. I taught how shamanic astrology, mystery school does this. I mean, so much more. And it's a really cool group of classes. So you can follow the link. I think I should make a pretty link for this because it's cosmicintelligenceagency.com/masterclasses/the-complete-venus-cycle-files, right? It's like, it's a lot to type. So I don't know if that link works for you if you copy and paste that, if you want to check it out. But it's like tons of Venus classes by a bunch of different teachers. And so I just got news, and it's kind of a fun Mercury retrograde thing, right? That thing came out. All right. So that happened quite accidentally because I pushed Venus conjunct the sun instead of Moon conjunct Venus, which I meant to share that the last time that Moon and Venus conjoined, they were 15 degrees from the sun at 3 degrees tropical Aries on April 7th, 2024. And that was the day that Anna and I went to go see that happening, though I highly suspected / knew we wouldn't. If we had caught a plane to New Zealand, we would have had all sorts of opportunity to gaze. And I'm just want to honor, I saw one of our Southern Hemisphere friends asked, oh, okay, so Melanie asked, what time in the morning should I look? I'm in Melbourne. Okay, well, in Melbourne, it's autumn, right? And so I'm not sure what the time the sun's rising right now. Well, I have tools for this. Let me cast a chart. And why not put this thing on the screen while we do? So just bear with me for a second, friends. We got to find the buttons. Share screen. Let's do this. And we'll get to Astrogold astrology software here. So here's now. And let's relocate to Melbourne, Australia. Melanie, am I right that it's Melbourne, not Melbourne? All right, so here we go. Melbourne, which is, by the way, the home of the Cosmic Intelligence Agency. And it's early, isn't it? Good morning, Melanie. So let me make sure this is now, right? So it's 4:30 a.m. in Melbourne. Amazing. So basically, let's just find out when Venus rises and then when the sun rises. The one thing I want to do here is open up a points list. I'm not sure that this will be showing up on your screen, though. No, it's not. So let's do this. Well, you know what? Let's just share the whole kit and caboodle. Things are going to get freaky for a second when we do. You'll get the bread inside of bread, inside of bread, inside of bread. We want to go here. This, by the way, is the amazing Moon, Mercury, Jupiter, Pleiades conjunction of June 5th. I'll tell you more about that another time and why it's on my screen. But here is right now. And then we'll take it to Melbourne, Australia. Okay, and then let's look east. And we'll bring the light in. So right now, Melanie, if you head outside, if clouds allow, because I know it is autumn time, but barely, you'll see Saturn followed by Mars. You're not going to see Neptune with your eyeballs, right? They're going to look more like this. And there won't be like, cartoons and whatnot in the sky. But let's move through time here, and we will bring Venus up to the horizon, which is happening right there. So Venus is now arisen. Oh, sorry, that's Mercury. Trickster. Yeah, here comes Venus. So look, actually, because of the way that Aries rises, this is a great time for you to see Saturn, Mars, Mercury, and Venus. And Venus won't rise until it looks like about 6 a.m. for you down there in Melbourne. or up there in Melbourne, if I take a different view. And yeah, just look at how visible Venus is right now in Melbourne, right? So sun's not going to rise for some time after that. And of course, even before the sun rises, we're losing the stars, including the light bringer Venus. But she is crazy bright right now. If I show you in this moment, I'll go back to where I live in Richmond, California. And let me just go back to sunrise here. So what you'll see is, though Venus is the same distance from the sun, here's Venus. Because Aries rises crooked like this, pictures tell a million words, like no Venus for us. Stellarium suggesting maybe, typically it will say Venus if Venus is visible. Like, oh, I guess I have to set that up, don't I? Well, there's some button. Yeah, okay. See how it says Mars and Saturn there? Well, I'm really zoomed in, so maybe it will say Venus. Not really. It's just telling me that where I live, Venus is no longer visible. But it is for you, Melanie, and what an amazing time. I'm glad you could hear this from me. Get out of here. Leave this. Never listen to my stream again. Actually, today or when I'm finished, head out. Go look east. This will be at my YouTube page if you want to go review it later. And just go east and you'll see Saturn. You'll see Mars. If you wait there and breathe for some time, you'll see Mercury and then Venus before sunrise. Powerful time to do it. If you got a good camera, send me a picture, all right? I'm wondering if you told me how to say Melbourne. Maybe I'm doing it right. If not, at least I'm too far away for you to strike me. Cool. All right. So what has been striking me recently? Mars and Venus. So Anna and I were out there to see Moon and Venus. And sorry, I meant to say Mars and Saturn. And what I saw instead was a whole bunch of Mars and Saturn. And then when we were just recently in Hawaii, I had this amazing experience. So I started this by showing this this time lapse that I took. Okay, this was the first night we were there. This is actually, sadly, it was the only really clear night. And this time lapse, it's a photograph about every minute for about 90 minutes. So there's about 90 photographs that are being stitched together, maybe more. But regardless, it was like an hour and a half. And I was just laying on this bed of what kind of spiky lava. They call it the like the spiky stuff, right? There's really smooth and beautiful lava in Hawaii. And then there's the spiky stuff that really got aerated, you know? And this is a lava field down south of Haleakala, the House of the Sun. And it's a place like the place where we've been staying recently, where I went, actually kind of had some resistance to it when we first went, because it's kind of like touristy and it's like on a golf course. But for a sky guy, golf courses are actually awesome because there's no light and there's a lot of open field. And I don't really care about the signs that might tell me to stay off the grass in the middle of the night. Personally, maybe I should. And then where it is in Wailea, I can get up early in the morning or the middle of the night, as I'm inclined to do, and can't help it anyway, and then drive on this road out into the lava fields, and it is just dark sky, right? So anyway, I'm laying out here, and I get a text from Anna, and it was like 4 a.m, but it was our first day there, and we're used to Pacific time, which is a few hours later than Hawaii, right? And so it's like 4 a.m. I get this text, "Hey, we're up. Where are you?" And you know where I am. I'm out like drinking stars. But it was like, oh gosh, I got to get back there and like connect with the family. It's a family trip, right? But I'm out in the middle of a spiky lava field. I found like a decent kind of table to lay on. It was kind of like laying on nails. No, it wasn't, but the closest I'll get to it. And then so I get the text and it's like, oh, okay, like it's time for me to journey back, stop the time lapse. But then, you know, you need to walk really carefully on this stuff. And it's pitch black outside. You know, it's the sun hadn't even started. It hadn't even found its way to the gate of Hades yet, which is the second. See, when the sun finds its way there, we start seeing evidence that the sun will soon rise. And maybe the sun had already been there and I saw a little bit, but regardless, let me show this other image to you. Right. So, I mean, interestingly, I didn't even know, I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but I didn't even know Mars and Saturn were conjoined this day. Let me cast a chart and tell you when this would have been. Oh, well, I think it's actually in the title of this picture. It was April 9th, 2024. And I'm very carefully walking on this spiky stuff. And I looked back to like say thank you to Haleakala, which is the volcano on your screen. And then I see these two beings rising together. And it was like, oh my. And so that was a Mars-Saturn conjunction. Not only are they conjoined in zodiac degree, and I'll tell you where it was by pushing some magic buttons on the astrology software over here. It was 14 degrees and 40 minutes of tropical Pisces. Well, that's crazy. It says April 11th, but this is in Melbourne. So I'm going to change my chart, which I know isn't on your screen, but I'm going to change my chart to Maui. Wailea, Maui. And see that their exact conjunction was actually on Wednesday, April 10th. So I just want to look at the chart for the day before and at this time when they were rising. And let me put the chart on the screen for you real quick. Is there a way? No, I have to stop and start again. Come on. Really? Don't you know that I like to be in flow, people? All right, so this is like the chart of that moment-ish. And so here's Mars, right, at 14-ish Pisces and Saturn at 14 and a half. They're a degree apart. And then let's look at them the next day. Oh, you know what? That's not true. This was this day. And they're 10 arc minutes apart. Because I went out there Tuesday night. And now it's Wednesday morning when I get this text. Now, astrologers know Wednesday does not begin until the sun rises. That's when days change. But of course, that's not how this calendar system is doing it, right? So that Wednesday would have been begun at 12 o'clock time. So yeah, this is what we're looking at when we go over here to this photograph. And I'm just kind of reflecting back on this because the other day I was out recording a video for my Deccan walk. And I was really waited for Mars and Saturn to rise. And I mean, I like told the students or the people, the peers who would be listening to this video at some point in the future, at least according to my perceptions, that I'm going to turn the camera off so I can like connect to Mars and Saturn, right? Because I'm asking for like strength and stability, becoming a daddy. Like I'm sure I'll figure out how to do that, and I've had really good practice because Anna's amazing boy is around here half the time, and I've been in his world since he was like 3, and we've grown closer and closer and closer over the years, right? But now baby's coming, probably in June, and that's getting real soon. And so, you know, hey, Mars, like, give me some gas pedal, right? some drive. And Saturn, like, give me some brakes, some ability to like chill and ground, and be cool, and learn how to be wise, and those kinds of things. Yeah. But anyway, so as I decided to leave the video running, and I think I'm gonna just play the video for you here at the end of this trip. Although it's like it's kind of academic, I'll say more about it before I do. But sitting there with Mars and Saturn in this prayer, I really remembered this day when they were conjunct. And I had to, in this moment, be very Saturn because I was walking on spiky stuff, right? But I was also trying to be Saturn, like responsible, which asked me to Mars kind of hurry back. So I was kind of dancing that interesting place. And I just turned back to Haleakala, you know, to like say thank you, and saw these two rising. And so it's like, oh, the camera's coming out of the bag, a few more shots, and just like a really deep connection and some prayers there. Okay, well, that day on Maui, Anna and Ko and I went to Io Valley, which is how many people have been to Io Valley? Let's see you in the chat. Have you been to Io Valley in Maui, Hawaii? Amazingly beautiful place. And I was told very early on by some great guides there that you don't go at night because there's a lot of ghosts. This was the site of a great battle. And it really wasn't all that long ago. This is at the so-called unification of Hawaii. And so, that's not my experience there during the day. During the day, we go with the fam. Koa is amazing. I mean, he loves climbing and he's great at it. He can do like the telephone pole thing, but he loves climbing on river stones and whatnot. And so Anna likes to chill, especially right now. She's carrying the baby. And so I'm taking Koa and we're climbing around the rocks. And we actually did a little fun trickster thing. Mercury's playing some tricks at the time where we went up river out of her sight. And mom's going to freak out a little bit there, even though I know she trusts me as a guide and a guardian. But anyway, so knowing that her heart would be beating a little faster than she would like for it to, we decided instead of coming back down the river where she was looking for our return with anticipation, we went up into the jungle and then came back behind her on the river and then walked up the river and surprised her, which was a lot of fun. I will always have Gemini rising, and I'm about to have an extremely Gemini daughter if she chooses to arrive at her due date. So I guess I'll be getting my due. All right. Anyway, so we have brilliant, fun at this beautiful place and really connect, and actually hadn't even been in ocean water yet, which usually I will before, but to get in and just kind of clean up in this river. But at one time the river stopped, so some call this the Battle of Kapaniwai. Kapaniwai. Sorry, my pronunciation of Hawaiian words is very challenged. I would love to know how to say that correctly. But it means the Battle of the Damned Water. So light in the heart, friends, because this one's a little tricky to hear. All right. But why is it called that? Because there were so many bodies that they literally damned the waters. And this was the battle of the so-called unification of Hawaii. So this other day, it was just April 24th, when I was out recording Morning Stars for my Deccan project for the school, for the constellations group. And I was sitting with Mars and Saturn. I was reminded of when they were conjoined. It took me back to Io Valley, and I was like, I want to learn more about that battle. And I learned, wow, there's the remains of two cannons there. I was like, cannons? Really? I didn't know the Hawaiians were using cannons. It was 1790. Oh, and then I learned that King Kamehameha, right, who was the king of Hawaii, that means the Big Island as people call it these days, Hawaii. And there was this battle on Maui between his Hawaiian forces and the forces of Oahu and Maui, and King Kamehameha won. But in part thanks to the help of John Young and Isaac Davis, who respectively, I believe, were a Brit and a Welshman, and to the boat, the Fair American, which the Hawaiians had captured. So it's oh, this is this whole other story, right? And obviously you can feel a lot of Mars in the battle, and the Saturn wants me to help kind of connect me to the history and the mystery. But anyway, I'm rewinding and okay, what about when the Tahitians first came to Hawaii and all that? And I'm not going to take you on that trip right now. What does this have to do with the gas and the brakes? Because there's something in this Mars Saturn, and it will be on Tuesday, on Mars's day next week, so the day before my next Wednesday Starry telling here, when Mars ingresses Aries, going home. It's a place where we know Mars to be particularly strong. Saturn, of course, staying in Pisces for some time. When Saturn comes to Aries, the Neptune will be there too. We're going to have an amazing conjunction on the world point on zero Aries in 2026. But there's something about working with these energies in these two visible stars in the constellations group, my next class. And by the way, any of you that are in constellations already, that's going to be on May 5th, on Sunday. I think usually they'll be on Saturday, but on May 4th, we're going to watch Koa at his school do Maple, which I'm really excited about. It's such an astronomical world access thing, and it's just the cutest also. So I'm very excited to be there. So May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, and we'll start with Alyssa. I'll say a little bit more about that in just a second. But for those of you who are free and want to join at that time with the sun at the cross quarter, right, halfway in between equinox and solstice, right in the heart of tropical Taurus and of this spring or autumn, depending on where you reside, right? We'll start at 8 a.m. Pacific time with an embodiment practice, a Taurus practice by Alyssa Luna of In the Moon Den. And then I'll do a class for a couple hours. It's about how invisible planets like Uranus will come to us and through us via their connections to visible planets like Taurus. But what if we have two visible planets like Mars and Jupiter, who are very different beings? And it's interesting to consider that between Mars and Saturn, I meant to say Mars and Saturn before, that between Mars and Saturn, like there's Jupiter. It's also the asteroid belt, right? And so much more to say about that. But, like Mars has a lot of drive, right? A lot of gas pedal, and Saturn has a lot of brakes. And we need them both. When I talk Jupiter and Saturn, I usually will speak about the hot air that expands and lifts the balloon, but Saturn is the fabric that constricts it, and where the Jupiter expansion and the Saturn constriction meet, it feels like a battle, but really you need expansion and contraction both, along with, by the way, that Saturnian wicker basket in which you ride for the hot air balloon to take flight and also come back down to the ground. Hermes tells us in the tablets that it rises to the heavens and again it descends to earth, achieving the force of things superior and inferior. Where in your life right now have you felt kind of the push-pull of like the needing to do something but not having the energy, or knowing it's not quite time, or something like this, right? I mean, is there something that you are anticipating but waiting for too? That's been obviously a lot of my experience with the baby on the way. So I'm wondering if that's alive for you. And Laura, I'm seeing that you pronounced EO Valley, Eow Valley. I think I've been saying EO, Eow Valley. So thank you for that correction, and for correcting me gently as well. Laura saying that she's lived here 40 years. Wow, cool. Well, I come around a lot. Koa was born in Makawao. It'll be nice to link up when we're there next. So holler, Gemini at GeminiBrett.com if you want to reach out. GeminiBrett.com if you want to do a session, any of y'all. GeminiBrett.com/constellations if you want to learn more about this amazing membership group that has recently begun, and we're already adding a lot of content, and there's a lot more to come. We're trying to kind of slow release things. I'm just putting that in the links now for those of you who are watching this at Instagram. Oh, like Angela Tiki, what is up? Greetings. A little energy from Greece on the scene. I love hearing that. It's really wonderful to see your name, sister. Trying to decide when I'm going to retire from my job. Yeah, holler. Let's do some astrology. Astrology can help. And let's also look at where you can go, unless you're really happy where you are currently at home. Oh, wow, you live in Makawao. Cool. Right on. Global we are. I'm going to show you one more picture before I put these videos on the screen, because at some point during the course of the astronomy, I will be referring to this thing. And I mean, I didn't show it at the time, but this is a project. Oh my gosh, I'm putting hours and hours and hours into this thing. But basically, I'm creating a map that will help astrologers who favor the tropical zodiac like I do know where the ecliptic stars live in the tropical zodiac at this time. So I'm doing it for March equinox of 2025. Um, and it's been oh gosh, it's just been the best resource for me so far. Most of the astronomy apps, which are so great because, as you know, you can like point them to the stars and see what the star's name is. I always say, like, don't record the concert and don't watch the concert through your phone. Get that thing out of the way. Like, ask the star for his name, introduce yourself, right? Maybe she'll have a special name for you. So, like, start there. But if you want to know a little bit of the history, mystery, go there. It's nice to know that Hydor is here in the center of the water barrier stream and lives at 12 degrees tropical Pisces now. You know, it can really help you like mark the heavens, learn to see your own chart in the sky in this, right? An example I have been sharing is when I was out there with the Galactic Center earlier, I had all these, like, at some point I'm laying on this, like, you know, lava, which itself, there's just so much destruction and creation and the merging and the elements and the separation and the coming back together and the alchemy in lava and the creation of land. You know what I mean? I'm like laying on this, like gazing at the heavens. So that's part of it. But I had all these like crazy thoughts of like death. And maybe part of it was that Mars Saturn thing that was happening. But I was also staring at the stars that were in the eighth house when I was born. When I like caught up to that, is I was like, why am I like tripping on last wills and testament? I was like, get out of there. And like, oh, I'm gonna go to my fifth house over here, which for me is like the crow kind of priestess. It's like the butt of the lion and the head of the priestess zone in the crow, like that world. And so I went over there. I was like, let's like fifth house, let's go into the kind of life and the baby. And then this like beautiful shooting star, like right through that zone. It's like, ah. Right. So it's really helpful to like know, you know, stars that mark the places in the heavens where your planets were when you were born, where your house cusps are, depending on, you know, how you roll. And then to be able to connect with these places in the heavens at different times of the year, right? To like really drop in. So like Mars and Saturn on that day when they were together at 14 and a half Pisces. Well, I was born with 9.5 Gemini rising. So that's like up in my 10th house, you know? In many house systems, like right now, I've been playing with Placidus houses a ton. There's a good reason for that. Um, they're like right at my 11th house cusp, and I've recently just created this community at the School of Astrology, and I'm really like stoked on it and trying to find time to participate. But part of it is I'm trying to also remind myself that I'm not supposed to be everywhere all at once, because I want to let the community drive the thing, right? That's the point of it. Like, we want to have space for star students like me and you to come together and know we're not alone and be able to share hearts and minds. And it's been amazing so far. But by the way, friends, Carolyn will be going skiing this Friday, which I admire. So I will be hosting the community gathering at 8 a.m. on this Friday. So if you're in the Constellations membership, you know what I'm talking about. We're about to get out a survey that asks for times when you are available in your own time zone, so we can figure out some other times to meet that can honor the folks that are in Australia and in Hawaii and all over the world, right? Okay, but I will start the community discussion this Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific. So hope to see you there. I can only hang for half an hour before I have a student. And then whoever's there is going to take over. And I'm just going to hand you the keys to the castle, which I think is great. Okay, so speaking of constellations, let me go to this other computer over here so I can work on my star map while these play. Oh, share audio. Window this. Okay. Cool. Can you see that there? Yes. Okay. So this was the Jupiter occultation by the moon some time ago. And actually, I love that I'm seeing that, because that was the first day that I found my way to the place that you're going to see some videos from now. Looking for a morning star, a new morning star space. And it's nearby, and I've like hiked there during the day. But this is the first time I went there for kind of a morning star astro experience of the Jupiter. That's Jupiter just re-emerging from the moon after an occultation. So this is currently what the astrology constellations community page looks like. Look, if you're in constellations and you're still finding your way around it, hopefully you know there's 2 pages, right? So there's the community membership page with like, the place to check in and leave comments of where the circles are and that kind of thing. And you know what? I should show that as well. Do that real quick, because for people who are interested in seeing what this thing looks like, I would love to show you. I am just realizing that for me to do that, though, I'm also won't be going to flash some members' names, and I'm not sure that they want that. So let me just open up this thing before I put it on your screen to see if it's cool. Yeah, good enough. Okay, so I just won't share too much of it. Let me put up a different image real quick. Buttons, buttons, buttons. Okay, so this is the community page. Hopefully y'all know there's like a couple things, right? On the left, when you're in the community page, like first of all, you'll scroll down. You'll see meetups like this, like videos of Alyssa's embodiment practice are now available for your review. Okay. This talks about how to play and the classes that I'll be teaching this year, at least proposed. I choose the right to stay in the flow, but they're all based on current astronomy. Like we just had the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, so talking about accessing invisible planets through their connections with visible planets. We'll do a lot of chart work with people in attendance live. Over here is where you find the circles, right? So right now the sky connections, this is so cool. The other day I was so excited to go post a picture and be the first one to post a picture. And there were already 6 pictures up there. I love y'all. I love that you're already participating. Amazing. And then here's where you find links to the community discussion schedule, stuff like that. Okay. Q&A, we promise to answer any question as long as you promise to question our answer, and on we go. Okay. But there's that, and then so there's the community page. And by the way, there's a different app for the community than there is for the membership page where you'll find recordings of stuff, which I think is annoying, but I guess a guy who calls himself Gemini should host a school at a place that requires 2 pages and 2 apps. Yeah. All right, so let's go back here. So this is where recordings of stuff are, and been meaning to update the welcome video. If you click here on the monthly astrology classes right now, you'll find 7 hours of eclipse classes and live chart examples. But where I want to bring you to, well, let me just show the astro embodiment practices with Alyssa. We have the Aries practice is up there. I still need to do this thing.
Okay, so
nice to know the sound's working. Great, cool. And Alyssa will again be leading a Taurus practice before our next class, which is on Cinco de Mayo at the cross quarter. Okay, but what I want to turn you into is this decan walk thing. Okay, so what are the decans? They're the 10-degree divisions of the zodiac, right? There's 36 of them. 10 times 36, 360, yes? And typically people will take us through the decans or the faces and talk about like the images or the tarot cards that are associated with each of the 10-degree divisions, which is amazing. And we'll be doing that too, because we will have an astro tarot circle here at the school. Things I'm doing are more of an astronomical approach. So one thing is taking a picture of the sun setting, because I'm very blessed where I live to, clouds allowing, see the sunset every day of the year. And this is all from Koa's room, where we get the view of the whole sweep. And so there you see the sunset for, this is on equinox, so that's the due west, then 10 degrees Aries, and 20 degrees Aries and 10 degrees Taurus. The clouds barely let me play with that one, as you can see. So once we get to Cancer, by the way, this is I call it the eucalyptus goalposts. And that's where, like the Cancer glyph, the sun will stop, turn around, and start going south. And then at Capricorn solstice or solstice, the southernmost sunrise and sunsets, the sun rises right here in a place I call Solstice Hill. In fact, I call that the birthing tree because that's where the sun is reborn. All right. So soon there will be a video here kind of describing what I'm up to. But one thing is this, like as the sun's moving through Aries, rather than talking about the stars that are currently in Aries, which you can't see at that time because the sun will blind you if you try, I'm working with the stars on the squares. So when the sun's in Aries, sun sets, and then we have the stars of Cancer on high. So let's look at the stars in Cancer at that time. So we can work with them as evening stars for hours and hours and hours after sunset, right? Before that Aries sun rises, let's work with the stars that are currently in the tropical sign of Capricorn, right? Which is on high in the Northern Hemisphere, quite low. Do you see what I'm saying? And so now the sun is in Taurus. And so I wanted to get out. I did an evening star session from right here in the backyard. These are all these backyard astronomy sessions. And I actually did a morning star session from the backyard as well. But in my backyard, you can't see most of the east. And by the way, if you've watched some of these folks that are in constellations already, the first phases of Aries, I've kind of handheld, and I'm using my finger to actually point things out, and it works, but it's shaky. Now I got a new camera. A new tripod. So the camera's on the tripod, and I'm using this laser pointer a lot to like actually show you things. My intention here is to really help people learn the zodiac, learn the ecliptic constellations, so they can do things like seeing their chart in the sky. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm just going to play these videos. They're crazy long, all right? And by the way, folks at Instagram, I'm about to end the stream over there because like seeing this thing is a little tiny bit on your phone or whatever, it's just not cutting it. All right. So you can follow my link in the bio and it will take you to my YouTube page where this stuff will be full screen. That's like the only place where this works. I probably should have stopped the stream already. For those of you who have been over there, thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. If you like the video, share it around, leave a comment. That would fuel the ship. Thank you. Hey, and that goes for all of you. Those of you who are at YouTube or wherever you might be seeing this thing right now, would love for you to say a little something. Give the video a like, share it with birds of a feather. All right. Okay, so let me just hit play here. I'm gonna put my camera away and mute myself. I think it's 26 minutes long. This will probably tell me. No, it's half an hour long, which I guess is the maximum length that my camera will allow. And that's just part one. And then I'll probably play the next part too. We'll see. I'll have to be on the road before that ends. Maybe I'll play it next week. It's either after part one, it's going to go right to part two. So we'll be here for a while. And of course, you can leave and come review this on my YouTube page later. Just go to the live streams link. Or this will be part one and I'll play part two another time. So if I can figure out how to like stop it from my phone on the road, then we'll just watch the whole thing. All right. Thanks for spending time with me, friends. It's always longer than I think it's going to be. I hope you're enjoying that. You know, I guess they told us we're going to go more and more short form, and that's the right thing to do if you're business minded. Well, I'm not. I'm here to talk story, and I'm glad that you are too. Hope to hear you talk in constellations. I know Dawn, Nadine, like many of you are already in that space, Winter, and so I'm really stoked to see you. Hopefully you can make Friday, 8 a.m. is our next kind of hang, our next community discussion. So maybe I'll see you there. All right. Greetings and welcome to Backyard Astronomy with Gemini Brett. It is 4:49 a.m. on Monday, the day of the moon, April 29th, and I'm recording from someone else's backyard, the El Sobrante Ridge Trail, El Sobrante, California. To save time, if you want to cast a chart, cast it for Richmond. Speaking of day of the moon is near full. And I know she's not full yet because moon will set well before sunrise. But it's hard to tell with her phase. And that's hard to see in this camera anyway. It just brings in so much light. But if we dim down, I'll just tell you that this looks like a very small version of what my eyes are seeing, which is that the moon just appears to be full. And that tends to be the truth the day before, day after sunrise, right? So part of how we know the phase of the moon is her relationship, of course, to the sun. Part of the way we know where the moon is in the signs is her relationship to the stars, right? We can't do this with the sun. We can do this with the moon. And this star right here is one I think you can identify if I just bring the camera up a bit. There's a knob for that. Yes. Okay. So which direction am I facing? I think you can answer that question really quickly if I put the camera here. Because of course with the Dipper, we know these are the pointer sisters that point to Polaris. Yes, the tail star of Little Dipper, of Ursa Minor, Small Bear, and all the stars spin about that. This is how the Dipper, 5 a.m.s at this time of the year, when the sun is in the early degrees of tropical Taurus, in the first face of tropical Taurus. Okay, now let's go back this way. I'm going to just show you. So the Dipper on your right, yes, the 7 sages, the 7 rishis. I'm going to go this way so you just see a few of them. You just see the arc. Do I need to go more? Sorry, I have some camera stuff in my way. There we go. Okay, this is what I'm trying to do. So, well, before we do, one other thing about the Dipper that we've discussed. You can drill a little hole in the bottom of the cup, and then the water leaks onto the lion. So this works even when the lion's no longer visible, like the lion has set, right? Okay, now this way, we say, follow the arc to Arcturus, spike to Spica. Okay, and it's odd, but these stars actually live at the same zodiac longitude, which is 24 degrees tropical Libra. In our day and age, the ecliptic's like this, right? Think moon to Spica there, where moon is going next. And so we draw these perpendicular lines of longitude. So a significant difference, however, between these two magical stars of Mercury, these Bohemian stars, Arcturus and Spica. Spica is like a degree and a bit south of the ecliptic, and Arcturus is like 30 degrees north. Okay, but anyway, Spica, 24 degrees tropical Libra. And so I can see that the moon is not there yet, and will be there soon. So I can look for stars nearby. It's really hard to see because the moon is so bright. But I can also measure with my hand, like I'm reaching out my hand and the moon is less than a fist away from Spica, a fist at my arm's length. Maybe I can just put my arm, I don't know, you know, which way the lens was facing right then. But anyway, they're less than a fist away. That's 10 degrees, a fist at arm's length. And so I can see that the moon is like 10 degrees shy of Spica. Spica is 24 Libra. So the moon's at like 15, 16 Libra. Let me cast a chart. It's now 4:52 a.m. Yeah, moon's at 1549 Libra, right? We measure the sky with Earth, including with our bodies. All right, so of course, after the priestess, which is setting now, we have the scales. Zubin el-Janubi, 15 degrees tropical Scorpio in our day and age, typically shown as the fulcrum of the scales. Though the name of that star literally means the southern claw, and Zubin el-Shamali means the northern claw. The scorpion, who you can see here, right, was once shown holding the scales, or there was a time where these were just called the claws. But these days we draw Zubin el-Janubi as the fulcrum of the scales,
the balance is like this. It's like the metal part and the scales hang down this way. That's how most folks draw it now. And there's actually a star right here. It's very dim. I don't know if it's going to show up for you on your screen, but I'm circling. It's Theta Libra. It is right at the tropical Sagittarius cusp. So a cool thing about Zubin al-Janubi, like let's go from the moon, who's right on her node right now, and therefore right on the ecliptic. The moon, just north of Spica there, right through Zubin al-Janubi, and then a little bit south of Acrab, but north of Antares, the heart of the Scorpion. This is the ecliptic path. So you start learning your ecliptic stars, and you start to see the path of the sun in the sky, which is, for the most part, the path of the planets, because our solar system is relatively flat, yes? All planets have obliquity, all planets have their own paths, all planets have their nodes where their path crosses the sun's path. But this is the ecliptic, and you just start to learn to see that by meeting folks like Zubin al-Janubi, who is not only a contestant for the coolest star name ever, but lives right on the ecliptic, and in our day and age, marks halfway through not only Scorpio, 15 degrees tropical Scorpio, but that of course is halfway between 0 Libra and 0 Capricorn, so halfway between cardinal points, Libra being west, Capricorn being south. And because Capricorn is south, from the northern hemisphere point of view, it is low. So let's go here, and we're really getting a good view of galactic center, right? Well, not really, because I'm going to keep some scales on this screen. Okay, so just to catch you up with where we are now, Zubin al-Janubi, Zubin al-Shamali, the Scorpion, just Acrab, Teshuba, Fang, Antares, the heart and the arteries. In our day and age, 10 degrees tropical Sagittarius for Antares. Ecliptic's coming here, like way above the Scorpion's tail. And that's why we often meet Garisa, which is a star of Ophiuchus. It's the foot. All right, it's like 24 tropical Sagittarius in our day and age. And importantly, always the foot of Ophiuchus, the stinger of the Scorpion, and the arrow of the archer point to galactic center. So I can't see galactic center in these light polluted skies, but I can align my heart because I know my stars. Okay, well, I think we'll come back here and talk about maybe some of the zodiac degrees. Now, I'm just going to go very quickly. Anazel here, the arrow of the archer, is about 3 degrees tropical Capricorn. Nunki, this bright, beautiful star, which Daniel taught me is the star with the oldest name that we still speak, going all the way back to the Sumerian times. It's like 12.5 degrees tropical Capricorn. And I'm out here to celebrate morning star time with the sun in the first face of tropical Taurus. And so part of what we want to do here is connect to the stars on the squares. So I need to go quickly because the clouds are eating the sky, which is a drag. Oh, you know what? Actually, let me just show you, in case the clouds do take them from our point of view. Saturn, who traditionally is the planet associated with both Capricorn and Aquarius. So I do this with tropical Capricorn and Aquarius, which modern day Archer and Sea Goat. But maybe you want to do this with Capricornus and Aquarius, Sea Goat and Water Bearer. So this is Saturn here, rising in the southeast. Saturn in the tropical sign of Pisces. Mars recently passed Saturn by, and so we might get to see Mars before we are complete. But for now, I'm heading back towards the south. And because I'm not in my backyard and I don't have my midheaven tree, I did start generally facing south. I put my back to Polaris, but I'm going to use the Stellarium Astronomy app and ask it to get to right now. And I can just see that actually we're just getting to Capricorn at the midheaven, because this star here is at the midheaven. The meridian's like this. This is like south right now. Okay, there's a very dim star here that marks the gateway into Capricorn. It's basically 3 Capricorn, and here we're in kind of like the last face of tropical Scorpio. Okay, so if I cast a chart right now, I'm going to see like the 1st degree of Capricorn at the midheaven. It's now 5 a.m. even on April 22nd, 2024, Richmond, California. And I'm actually 29 Sagittarius at the midheaven. So very close. It's kind of tricky when we get to cusps, right? Okay. So, of course, after the Archer, we get to the Goat. I'm going to turn left here, or east, more appropriately. Wait, sorry, one more thing. And we've said this before, but I'll say it again and again. 0 Capricorn is the lowest degree of the ecliptic in the northern hemisphere sky. Ecliptic comes here. It's like this. And that means, right, I'm furthest from the Tropic of Capricorn, up here in the northern hemisphere. So it literally is lowest in my sky. And that's just really important to know when we look at the twins and the bull on the opposite side of the sky. They're like way up there, right? So you'll start to learn like the altitudes of the signs when they culminate, and the altitude of constellations in our day. And that really helps you connect to the tropical astronomy and the relationship between constellations and signs, which we know are different things. Okay, so the Archer is over here. We learned this teapot asterism of the Archer, but we get back into Archer stars here, and they're very dim, but this is like the butt of the horse of the Centaur, which is like kind of 24 tropical Capricorn, like in those zones, and kind of hiding in the clouds right now, but I think you can see these 2 stars. These are the horns of the Goat. One of them is literally called Goat. It's called Algety. That's this top star. And then this is Dabi. And the cool thing about Algety, and you'll see this definitely when you get outside and do this work in space with your face, is that it's actually clearly 2 stars next to each other. It's a visible binary. One's called Prima Algety and the other one's Secondary Algety, right? First and second. I want to actually just bring you up real quick, because sometimes when stars are hiding in the clouds or hiding in the trees, we want to learn to do work with the stars that we can see. And so like up here, you'll see the Eagle star, Altair. We go up even further, and now we get to the summer triangle, as it's called. So here is, at the top of the screen, Hermes heart, Vega, harp. This is Deneb of Cygnus, the swan, some call the Northern Cross. Okay. Altair of Aquila, the eagle. Right? It's kind of flying this way. It's eagle tail, eagle wings. But we can work with this triangle. Like, look, watch what happens when I draw a line down from Vega through Altair. I get to the horns of the Goat. So when they're hiding in clouds like this, I might just have to work with stars that are up and above my view. But right now we're actually getting the full triangle or boat of the Goat. So here's the horns. Here's the tail. The Goat's cool like this. We get 2 stars marking the kind of front of the horn, the Goat, the horns, and then 2 stars marking the tail. This is Nashira. And then Deneb Algety, which is one of the magical stars, the Bohemian stars of Hermes. Now, I want to show you the ecliptic in this zone. You can see Saturn here. Can we see Mars yet? I gotta take my eye away from the camera. Yeah, Mars is just above this hill over here. You probably don't want to point lasers at Mars, you know what I'm saying? Or Saturn for that matter. Okay, but the ecliptic it goes to the north of teapot stars over here. It's like through here, right above these three, which are kind of drawn in the cape of the centaur these days. I guess centaurs like capes. The ecliptic continues beneath the horns of the goat, and then right through the star Theta Aquarius, they call it, or Theta Capricornus, sorry. I know it is Aquarius because these days it marks like 13 degrees tropical Aquarius. My midheaven's at 14, so I know that is my midheaven star. I think it is more like 14. I need to check. But the goat's kind of down here. These are the hooves of the goat, the leading hooves of the goat, the goat's back, the goat's tail. And the goat, hard to see in light polluted skies like this, but it's kind of like this huge, beautiful triangle in the sky. Okay. And the ecliptic comes down beneath the horns, right through this star you can barely see, right through dorsum, or Theta Capricornus here in the back of the sea goat, and then just above the tail stars, and then on to Saturn and Mars, right? The planets stay close to the ecliptic plane. Now they vary, they're not exact, but they're close. So right now Saturn's a bit south. Saturn's south node is in Capricorn and tropical, and here Saturn's in Pisces, so south of the ecliptic plane, and then coming down to Mars. Okay, so you're seeing the ecliptic there? Cool. Sometimes I need to bring out the ultimate astronomer's tool with you, which is the hula hoop. It's really helpful to look at something curved when you're looking at a curved thing in the sky, like the ecliptic plane. Okay, so to kind of honor, so I need to turn this thing off and just connect with Saturn and Mars over here and do my thing. To honor this mission, right, of this Deccan walk, where instead of teaching you about the stars that the sun is aligned with, why? Because we can't see that. A fun thing to do is to work with full moons, right, when the moon is opposite the sun, because we can see that, but even the full moon dims out the stars. Like, let's go all the way west again. And then I need to straighten out, boy. There you go. I was hoping to show you Porama at 10 degrees tropical Libra, and how the moon was between Porama and Spica at 24 Libra, but I just can't see Porama at all. Now it is a bit cloudy, but the moon is bright, especially when full like this, or full-ish even, right? So we can definitely work with the full moon moving through the stars, but you know, being at the time when the moon is exactly opposite the sun, how do we even know? Like, a lot of interesting questions come in there, but that's definitely, you know, following the moon through the stars is the origin of star-based calendars, which is really, I'm sure, where the zodiac originated. I'm going to pause along the way, and I hope without my laser pointer or me saying things, you're starting to really meet and know these ecliptic constellations. Okay, so you know, I'm going to say this again and again. NASA taught me that redundancy is built into every great space mission, okay? But instead of working with the stars that the sun is aligned with, because we'll go blind trying, and I'll certainly ruin my camera, and I don't want to, we're going to work with the stars in the squares. So which stars are on high at sunset? Which stars are on high at sunrise? Okay, well, I can't work with the stars at sunrise or at sunset either, right? Why? Because it's not, at sunrise, it's already too bright. The sun rises into the 12th to illuminate the earth, but when he does, he hides the heavens. This is why the 12th house is hidden things. And friends, that begins before sunrise, with the sun in the first house beneath the ground. It actually even begins, and especially in some times of the year, when the sun's in the second house, which is why the second in the Hellenistic tradition was called the gate of Hades, The sun is, depending on the house system of your choice, like right now in the second house, right now 1 degrees 40 minutes of tropical Aries is rising. So the ascendant is due east because we have an equinox point rising. And the sun's at 2 degrees 51 minutes tropical Taurus, a little bit more than 30 degrees away. So if I was utilizing like an equal house system, for example, where I just take that ascendant degree to Aries and start every subsequent house, or let me say it this way, succeedent house with that same degree. So 2 Taurus would mark the beginning of tropical Taurus in an equal house system right now. That's where the sun is. And you can already see like light, and stars are already definitely starting to fade. Right? So the second, the gate of Hades, the sun is coming back from the underworld, though it's going to take a while before sunrise. Okay. Anyway, these horns of the goat up here in the upper right of your screen, there are markers for tropical Aquarius. They're not exactly there at all. They're close. They're like 3.5 degrees. Tropical Aquarius. I'm going to tell you exactly. Dobby. Sorry, see, I was off, so I'm glad I looked. 4.5 degrees tropical Aquarius. Algety, 4 degrees 12 minutes. So let me point those out to you. Algety. Dobby. Okay, so let's go back towards the Archer here. Just square up to the horizon. Okay, so in this space of like goat butt, sorry, centaur butt, just like here, I don't know if you're seeing these at all. This is called Terabellum, these stars, and they're like, it's like 27 tropical Sagittarius, 27 tropical Capricorn. It's really hard, right, to like accept that signs and constellations are different. And so when I'm pointing at the Archer constellation, it's hard not to drop into that Sagittarius, right? But it's not in our day and age, and we can tell because it's low Capricorn. 12,000 years from now, this will be the highest constellation in the northern hemisphere sky. So tropical astronomy really matters, but it is tricky to know that Capricornus, the sea goat, marks tropical Aquarius, right? So here's this triangle of the sea goat. Kind of looks like, if you're a nerd like me, the Star Trek emblem a little bit, but don't forget the back of the goat. Oh, and I wanted to check in with that degree of dorsum in our day and age. Yeah, so 14 Aquarius, 12 minutes. Somehow I'm living like 72 years ago. I'm subtracting a degree from everybody. So 4 Aquarius, 14 Aquarius, and the tail stars like Deneb Algety, 24. So this is pretty cool because they do phases. Well, they do 10-degree divisions. The phases are from 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, right? But here we have 4, 14, 24. So 10 degrees, 10 degrees. Cool, right? That's what that amount of ecliptic space looks like in the sky with your eyes. Okay, so speaking of, last thing we'll do today, and I'm going to do my thing. Let's look over here. Okay, so just to get oriented again, I'm going to leave a few stars of very visible stars of the Archer kind of again drawn in the Cape. So let me tell you a zodiac degree of one of these. Well, Nuki's no longer on the screen. How about this bright star here is Albalda, and it's 16.5 tropical Capricorn. Okay, 4.5 tropical Aquarius, with the ecliptic doing this down to Saturn and Mars. You can see her climbing, right? Why? Because the Earth is spinning. Amazing. Okay. Well, there's this merging here. I mean, it's interesting. Let's honor Saturn. Saturn. I'm sorry to laser you, sir. Who traditionally is associated with both Capricorn and Aquarius, right? So if we're talking signs, we're talking this lowest space over here, the Tropic of Capricorn, 30 degrees until we get to tropical Aquarius, right? If we're talking constellations, and I talk signs, but if we're talking constellations, and that's part of what we're here to do, we're talking sea goat and water bearer, right? Well, an amazing thing is that these two constellations overlap. So let's tune into sea goat again, horns, tail, right? So you get sea goat like this. Well, the water bearer has a long extended arm above the sea goat in the sky. So if you go to dorsum, to theta Aquarius, I have camera things kind of blocking my view. Let me just do this. Okay, which is here, right? So horns, tail, and in between, theta Capricornus, which is 14 degrees tropical Aquarius. And I like that's an important star for me personally, because that star was culminating at the midheaven in the moment of my birth. So if I want to like contemplate my works and other things like honors, reputation, and whatnot, it's good to go to the midheaven of the time, but it's also good to know the star that marked that very important part of the chart for me when I was born. You see what I'm saying? So hopefully as you're learning these ecliptic degrees, you're also saying, oh, that's where my moon was. That's where Mercury was when I was born, like this, right? Okay. Anyway, so above dorsum, we start seeing stars of the water bear. And really between the back of the sea goat and the horns, you see these two right here? Well, the brighter of the two and the one that is furthest west or closest to the horns, that's Albali. And that's shown typically as like the hand of the water bearer who's rising now. And that water bearer's hand, let me get oriented because it's easy to just kind of fly up into eagle space. We need to go down this way. Okay. So let me actually even start with Saturn right now, who is at 1551 tropical Pisces, Mars at 24 tropical Pisces. Like if I work that with my stars, it's easier for me not to get lost. First of all, the planets are going to keep me on the ecliptic plane, right? But I'll just share that kind of 14 Pisces space is right in the water stream of the water bearer. And 24 Pisces is actually into one of the heads of the fish. And we'll be speaking about that more and more as the sun moves this way, right? And therefore these stars get higher and higher when we're out here at morning time. Okay, but for now, gosh, and the sun is just taking the sky away. So we're not going to be able to do this as much right now as we will later. Let me just say that once you learn the goat here, you can connect to water bearer stars, which kind of do this. In fact, let me take some of this stuff that you can't see, but it's on my screen. Do you see this shape here, which is kind of how we draw the Aquarius glyph, right? Like one of the sound or prana or plat.
Right. I remember that being where the camera just stopped. So what time is it? Yeah, you know what? I could get away with playing most of this other video. I see that some of you are still here. If you're in constellations, check out the high def version of these. That's in your membership page. All right. I think if you watch this on YouTube later on too, there'll be a more high def experience of it. I'm not sure if that's true though. Regardless, let me share. Yeah, let me share this other video with you. I'm not going to play it in full. We will watch the beginning of it so you can be where you left off. Oops, no. Okay. So go into this 1C morning stars point 2. I'll start at the beginning and then I'm just going to skip a bit, like, and go to kind of an important ending of it, which is the ending of the visibility of the stars because of the Star of Mars.
If we did 2 of these on top of each other, we have the Aquarius glyph, right? Well, okay, that helps me. So this is Albali, Sado Sud, Sado Malik. Some said this is the luckiest of stars, and this is the lucky star of the king. Sado Chiba, and Zeta and Eta, Aquarius. And so it's typically shown that like the water bear is holding this yoke, this pole, right, over his shoulders. This is his hands holding that pole, kind of in the shoulders and the head space. And these lucky stars to the east, depending on the artist, are typically drawn literally as the bucket. Okay, that's pouring out the water. And again, right now that water is being poured on Saturn. It's probably good news for us. Okay, so you learn the goat, and then you already start seeing stars of the water bearer. And again, this kind of Aquarius glyph looking bit helps, right? But the ecliptic is actually like way down here. Well, here. Okay, so no, I almost just lasered a plane, which isn't cool. But that plane was just showing me a really important star that's in the mix of all of this, which is Ancha. It's a star pretty close to the ecliptic. And then we'll meet Hydor, which is a star right on the ecliptic in the water bearer's stream that we're just not seeing because the sun has already reached the gate of Hades.
Right. Okay. I'm going to mute that for a bit. And I'm wondering if I can actually play it and fast forward, because what I really want you to see is this. I mean, something that you already know to be true, that you've probably seen. Like, one thing I'm really loving about having this deck and walk where I'm out every 10 days, I'm watching where the sun sets. I haven't put them up on the page yet, but I'm creating time lapses. So after the sun sets, we can see which are the first stars that appear, right? That's called the heliacal setting stars. This is one of the ways to attempt to know where in the constellations the star of ours, the sun, is at any given time, because of course we can never see the stars that the sun is aligned to, right? But what I want to show you here, like, I'll just get to the place where I sat down and just fast forward this thing. Right, okay, so obviously this is much later in time, right? I wonder if I can play this and fast forward on this device. I cannot, but I can over here. So hold on, let me just stop sharing this. I love that some of y'all are still here, right? So you're interested in this stuff. Good. I will, by the way, later this year see what's what with baby, but I plan on teaching I'm going to open a new sky school. Some of that will involve in-person retreats, but a lot of it's going to be the kind of updated illustrations, animations, and teachings of astronomy for astrologers, starting with essential astronomy for astrologers. So you'll learn more of that sometime soon, coming soon to a theater called you. All right, let me get to these Deccan videos. Taurus 1C, cool. Because here, while we can't listen to the sound, but I'm done with it anyway, I can play this and fast forward for you. Because what I want you to see is just this experience of, the sun rising to illuminate the earth. But when he does, he hides the sky. This, by the way, is why the 12th house is hidden things. All right. Make sure this is on the screen. It is. Cool. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Great. So let's just move along in this video. And so just check out the light, right? So I'll circle with my mouse here. These are the horns of the goat. This is Algeti and Dabi. This is the tail stars of the goat, Nashira and Deneb Algeti, which means the tail of the goat. The goat's like a triangle like this, as I was shown with the laser before. All right. And then this is like the arm of the water bearer, the water bearer's bucket pouring water at this time awesomely onto Saturn. All right. So I think I turn the wheel one way and whatnot, but this is what I want to show. The camera's on the tripod.
Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn.
Let's just go fast forward. So this is 10 times speed right now. And I know I looked around a little bit, looked for moon set, right? So one of the things I was describing there is like, while the moon's phase looked full, I know she's not full because she was setting before sunrise, like well before sunrise. So that means the moon is still waxing. We learned to read the sky. That plane's moving 10 times faster than it was. And I was making a joke about you probably don't want to fly a plane right between Mars and Saturn. In the Hellenistic tradition, that plane just got besieged by the malefics, whether or not that's true to my personal astrological practice, I'm not going to say, but I wouldn't fly my plane that way. Anyway, that was just the plane doing that from my point of view. So you see the light of the sun already coming up, right? And just taking away any chance of seeing stars near the horizon. I mean, that had already happened, yes. Whoa, check out that plane on the left. So here I'm turning down the how much light the camera's bringing in to make more of an analog for what I was actually seeing in the sky. That up there, let's look at that again. I remember, so you see where the laser is right now, that's at the horns of the goat. But, the sun's coming up. I'm starting to lose sight of the stars. And I was like, oh, I can still see the horns of the goat. It was like, no, that's actually eagle. It was the goat. But I pointed the camera up here because I thought what I was looking at was these two stars that are much brighter. They're brighter anyway, but also because they're much higher above the ground, right? They're less subjected to the rising light of the sun. So I'm pointing the laser here to Altair, which is the bright star of Aquila, the eagle constellation. Up on the top, this is Vega of Lyra, Hermes' harp. That reminds me of Dave Hoover was on Starry telling last week. And then this is Deneb, right? So Deneb means tail, like Deneb Algeti means the tail of the goat. Here we just say Deneb, it's the tail of the swan, which some call the Northern Cross, right? And together they make an asterism that astronomers today call the summer triangle. It's a very hemispheric thing to say. In the wayfinding tradition of like Hawaii, they call it the navigator's triangle. And they're Hawaii and Tahiti and Samoa, like how they're laid out on Earth. Okay, anyway, I think we'll get back here. And I'm just tripping about that bit. Let's play this again and fast forward. And just watch the end of our opportunity to see these stars. So I know the way that this video is being broadcast by a streaming system through YouTube, you probably don't see anything on the screen anymore. I still see barely the two stars I'm circling here, which are the horns of the goat. And the goat's tail stars are here and here. I was just pointing the laser at Saturn here. I'm pointing it at Mars, who I can't see on the screen anymore because of what we call the beams of the sun, right? Here, what I'm doing is showing how we can find the horns of the goat by drawing a line from Vega through Altair. So you learn how to like connect the constellations with one another. We learn how to connect stars into constellations, constellations with constellations that describe the entire sky and how space relates, right? As we celebrate this marriage of heaven and earth, for what it's worth. And that, by the way, as far as I'm concerned, is everything. All right, there's got to be a button. Where's, oh, right. No, I'm sharing over here now. Okay. Cool. Well, hey, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for spending some time in the backyard astronomy with me, too. It's one of my favorite things to do. I think most of the folks in constellations are stoked for the community discussions, probably the classes. I won't be the only one teaching classes, by the way, there soon. Dear friend Amala Hall will be coming in to start teaching, I think, monthly transmissions on astroherbalism. Alyssa Luna has already begun her monthly transmission of an astro embodiment class. So she did the Aries class, and Taurus class will be shown on May 5th on Cinco de Mayo. Let's call that the Taurus cross quarter. Right before my next class, which will be the way that invisible planets speak to us and through us via their connection to visible planets. It's part of my religion anyway, and I see it to be true. We'll do a lot of chart examples for people who are there live. We will soon be opening up a chart reading exchange space in constellations for folks who are just starting to read charts and want to gain experience. My friend Lucian Slosh, who's a great astrologer and a longtime counselor and teacher, will kind of be a den daddy of that space, because obviously when we open a reading exchange circle, we are opening a very potential disaster of boundary crossing and all that. So we want to start working on the good ethics for giving and for receiving readings, right? So I'm excited to offer that opportunity for folks who are new, because, it's experience that leads to wisdom, and only experience. Astro Tarot, Phelan Shiva will soon be opening her circle, where there will be a transmission every month about correspondences between astrology and tarot, and just also like through years and years and years and years of practice, like offering guidance of working with cards and clients. So I'm just really excited that there's other guides in this space that are excited to teach and share, that there's many stars who have already aligned their light with ours in constellations, who are bringing amazing insights and experiences into the community discussion groups. And if any of y'all who are here right now are in the constellations, please know that I'll be hosting the next community discussion group, which is at 8 a.m. Pacific time this Friday, this Venus's Day, April 26th, if you're into that whole Gregorian trip. And then Carolyn will host a second community discussion group that same day on April 26th at 5 p.m. Pacific. And then we're just about to get out a survey to y'all, which will give a place of where you can write times that work best for you if you do want to connect with peers and all that. So right on. Oh, Linda, I'm just seeing that you didn't get notification. That's surprising, because I imagine you saying that means you're subscribed to my YouTube channel. For folks who aren't, please do. And again, please give the video a high five. It fills my heart. We'd sure appreciate it. We're up against the algorithm, folks. We got to do work to keep good content happening. So if you believe this is good, let us know. Linda, I will be live here at 11 a.m. Pacific time every Wednesday. So just in case YouTube doesn't notify you next week, please know that's when I'm here. And for the first time in my career, just dedicated to a weekly transmission. I had said that they would be an hour or less, and I didn't know I was lying. But I should know better, because I'm always much longer than I think. Not always. All right. See you in space, friends. Folks in constellations, I hope to see you on Friday. Bye, y'all.